We're currently getting to the end of a junior doctors' strike across all of New Zealand. By tomorrow morning, it will be over and things will return to normal. But I guess the question that I have from a customer of a hospital, a patient, potential patient's point of view, is why are the junior doctors having this strike? And what's it all about? So the first thing we should do is have a look at what the junior doctors have to kind of put up with now. What is their conditions of working right now? The New Zealand Resident Doctors Association rep for Otago is Nick Erskine. Nick Erskine spoke to Channel 39 and he explained sort of what the doctors do now.
So the hours a resident can work would be up to 16 hours per day of being on duty within the hospital, and you can work up to 12 days in a row. So that's covering the weekend and then just rolling straight back into another week. And then the maximum of night shifts you can do in a row is 7 in a row. So you can do an entire week working 10 hours per night.
He went on to talk about actually why the strike is happening and talked a little bit around the risk to how the junior doctors are reacting to the kinds of hours they need to work.
Stories just trickle out ever so often of people saying, actually I'm really worried about the fact I've done X, Y, Z, and it sometimes played off for a bit of a kind of just a chat with friends, but actually sometimes you have people who are really upset about what they've done and how exhausted they've become.
And just further to that understanding of what doctors are going through, RNZ, Radio New Zealand National, spoke to Christchurch junior doctor who's currently on strike, Rosie Chile, and Rosie said to RNZ, she was talking to Checkpoint and John Campbell, she said this.
I think all of us here could give you an example of being really tired and not doing as well as we should, particularly on nights after your fourth or fifth night, then you're just not thinking as clearly.
So I don't know about you, I've also heard, listening to Talkback and various sort of media sources, anecdotal evidence or anecdotal stories of doctors phoning up saying they've worked 14 hours a day for 12 straight days. I don't know how much you earn as an income, but I don't think you could pay me enough to work 14 hours a day for 12 straight days, have 2 days off, and then get straight back into. It seems ridiculous to me. I've heard stories about, 70% of my friends say these junior doctors have had their cars crash as they were driving home, they were so tired. It seems to be an unsafe practice, and one of the things that's most concerning is it's government driven. Now I'm not blaming National for this per se, but whoever the government is obviously pay these doctors, and they are the ones who set the standards for how these doctors are treated, I guess, or certainly at what is expected of them. If the government said, no, this is not happening anymore, then this wouldn't happen anymore. So as someone who could be the patient, I would be really concerned to have a doctor looking after me who has possibly worked 14 hours for the past 11 days and they're on their 14th hour of their 12th day. It just doesn't seem like a recipe for success for me. On top of that as well, I read in the paper that the senior doctors who are currently covering for the junior doctors wanted $340 an hour to cover for them. The DHB said no, but they offered them between $200 and $300 depending on the DHB, sorry. So there seems to be a lot of money out there, and I know that the junior doctors are not saying that primarily money is the reason, but if there is a huge amount of money to pay huge wages to some people, surely that can be worked into the system to make the workload that they do less, i.e. if there's more of somebody, there isn't the same workload, so it does kind of come back to money on some levels. And finally, I thought we should just very quickly have a look at where to from here. The union rep for the doctors, Dr. Deborah Powell, she spoke and said very clearly if this doesn't resolve, there could potentially be further strike action.
We are under instruction that if we don't get this settled in negotiations after the strike, then we're to proceed with further strike action.
So yeah, so that's got the whole story for you in one go. Probably by the time you see that the doctors will be back at work and everyone will be breathing a sigh of relief. But I have to say again, if there's not a resolution from this which is suitable to the doctors and the safety of not just them but their patients as well, then we are likely to see more strike action, and it seems to be something that's not an unrealistic ask for me. We don't want to be so tired that we can't be effective for our patients and we can't be safe ourselves.